Okay, don't know if this thing is working. Thought I would do a live video for a little while. I'm here actually doing laundry, so I don't know how the hell I get it on. But, got Mr. Panda Expressor with me. It's my little sidekick. He just follows me everywhere I go. I don't even know why I even have a panda with me. Well, I know I like Japanese like toys and stuff like that. It's the same thing with like anime, same thing with all that kind of stuff. But don't give me up, boy. Anyway, gonna sit here and kind of chill and talk about a few things. I have been really kind of busy doing some stuff. I don't know if you guys checked out a couple things I've actually put up. Hey, how's it going, guys? How you guys doing? Well, it's been a while. Hopefully this thing's going through okay. I don't know if it is. Maybe a bit echoey in here. I'm just using my phone. But anyway, um, I thought I would let you guys know what's been going on. I've got a couple things I put out recently. I put out a custom of a. It's a Mattel. It's like I want to say it was probably something that came out in maybe 2020 or 2021, something like that. It was a Mattel Hot Wheels set that I decided to repaint. And I also, I'll get around probably actually do like a review. I did like a quick little trailer video I just recently uploaded. I do have a music video I put up recently, which it says it's Foxfire's Mix. That's a name that I go by online sometimes. And something I created way back in the early 2000s, like way back in the day, like when things were more or less in its primitive time when it came to making electronic music. And I created a whole album. It's just one track that I put out, so I plan on putting out more of them. I think they're pretty cool. I actually am really, really into probably trying to make more videos with that kind of stuff. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with the rest of them yet because I think I have a total of maybe 6 or 7 tracks. So I pretty much have made like my own album, which is kind of cool. And I don't know how many people have actually made an album of music, but I decided to kind of dabble into it because I'm not extremely like musically inclined or anything, so I just like kind of played around with it. But I thought it was pretty cool. As for anything else I've been working on, I've kind of put a lot of things on the back burner as of recently, just because the holidays really took a lot out of me this year. I've been all over the place doing all different kinds of stuff. Been kind of fun. Um, but I really haven't done anything else. I thought about doing like live stream let's plays and all this kind of stuff, but I mean to be honest, Twitch tends to take up a lot of the VTuber base, you know, and just bought a Legacy Jaxus. Oh, I haven't gotten a Legacy Jaxus yet. I thought about it. I've seen it several times, but I never really got around to actually buying it because I'll be honest with you. I've made my own versions of Jaxus, like at least 3 different versions. I did one where I pretty much customized and repainted a King Atlas. Um, I used that mold because it was fairly cheap at the time to get hold of, especially since it's harder to get hold of the Machine Wars Starscream on top of even touching a. I wouldn't touch a Skyquake, but customization is not something I do. Um, so I didn't really get around to doing that. Another another custom I did that in like a long time ago, but it was a Seeker that I modified and used some knockoff Victory Saber wings and put them on him, repainted him to make him look like Jaxus. It worked okay, but I was just like, I still wasn't really that happy with it. And my latest one, and actually that I made, was a Jaxus made of a knockoff um, top spin, like some of the flip changers, the jump starters. Um, it doesn't actually have like a jump starter type of mechanism. It doesn't push, like you can like push it real fast and then it'll like zoom across the floor or whatever. But I did do that. I haven't done like an actual review of it. I think I posted maybe a few pictures of it, but I really haven't done a whole lot with it as of recently. Um, I do need to get around to do a little bit more of the reviews of some of the more recent customs I've done. Considering if you guys have noticed, with my collecting, I have kind of downscaled, like literally downscaled. I am went with just trying to make things smaller because, to be honest, when you had as large of a collection as I've had in my life, it kind of gets to the point that it's almost cumbersome to have that much, and it isn't that fun whenever you can't just snag a toy off the shelf, have room to play with it, and put it back. So I'm more or less going for like the Hot Wheels scale stuff, like the smaller things. The larger, like the largest robots I have, yes, I do have like a Brave Max and my custom Metroplexes, but I keep those because those are more or less in scale with Scramble City. And Scramble City's actually been always been my favorite line of toys, I would say. Like that was the one thing, like the whole reason why I got around and made my own versions of G2 Defensor and G2 Menasor, and then turned right back around later on and created the rest of the combiners because I wanted a ton of combiners that all work together, that fit that G2 kind of crazy extreme stuff, because I actually like the bright colors. I was always into that. I was always into the a lot of the gimmicky stuff, things like that. And I know some people really aren't into that. I understand it, but there's times I'm just like, you know, honestly, I don't think it's bad to have a whole variety of toys. Like I myself have been more or less into just smaller toys anyway, pretty much my entire life. I had a lot of Lego. I had a lot of like Star Wars stuff. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I've worked really hard on those customs. I really have. I do know a lot of people tend to give me flack about like, oh, that didn't exist and this, that, and the other. Yeah, I know they didn't exist. That's why I created them in the first place. To me, they're a piece of art. That's how I feel about it. But the thing is, when I was growing up, I'd always have like Hot Wheels. I know a lot of you guys probably end up having micro machines. I had tons of micro machines growing up. Just because I didn't really have like a whole lot of space when I was growing up, or moved around a lot. So it was either like Lego that I could break down and put in a box, or um, video games, like even video games. Let's go there. I had an Atari, but I had an Atari 2600, like the old. Actually, I didn't have the 6 switcher. I actually had the 4 switcher, and it was more or less a hand-me-down because come on, I was born in '78. I wasn't around when this thing first hit the market, kind of thing. It was a lot old, but it was a lot later on. But there is some really really cool games that actually came out of that system. Yeah, I think if you're planning on doing your own customs, my suggestion um, when it comes to customs is if you decide to start doing them, buy a cheaper figure on the market, get used to the disassembly, the process of painting them, and then putting them back together. But anyway, back to video games. I know some of you guys probably don't, some of you guys probably do play games, but I do play a lot of older games on my computer now, but I used to play a lot of Atari. I used to play a lot of NES. I never actually owned a Super Nintendo until I was an adult. The same thing with a Sega Genesis. I always rented those because I didn't have a whole lot of money. And a lots of money out there is sometimes a requirement when it comes to that type of thing. But I don't know. It's one of those things. I thought that, maybe getting into capturing stuff on Twitch and stuff like that and doing all the retro video games and such would be cool. But there's a lot of people out there already doing that, like VTubers and such. And I'm not really a VTuber kind of guy. It's hard for me to sometimes figure out some of the technology they have nowadays. It really is. I'll be honest with you. And I mean, like the newest things I own. Like, hey, you want to see the newest console I own? The newest console, like handheld console, guys. Like this is state of the art. Let me tell you. Like you guys are probably like, what the heck? But, 3DS. That's my newest thing I own. It was kind of, and I have a lot of retro games for this. That's why I have it. Like I've got Zelda for Ocarina of Time on it. I actually like that game. I do have it in 64 still. Love that game system. Always will. But when it comes to like the thing is when I was growing up, I grew up with like, some hand-me-down things like that. Like I don't know how many of you guys can like raise your hand and say, hey, I remember having to go to like yard sales and swap meets, and that's how I got hold of my first TIE fighter or my first X-wing or my first, Voltron, whatever. Like sometimes it was like, oh, I don't care. It was janky. It was missing parts, but it was still mine kind of thing, because a lot of kids didn't really grow up with a whole lot of money, and sometimes these rich kids would end up having these huge yard sales, and then it's because their parents are like, oh, we're getting too old for toys, so you get rid of it, so some of us end up with it type of thing. And that's kind of how I got hold of some Star Wars toys when I was a kid, because, obviously it came out in 77. I wasn't around then, so, being like a kid that actually got to see, Return of the Jedi for the first time ever in his life. Like, Return of the Jedi was brand new when I saw it. Like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people don't understand that feeling. And it's like, oh, it'd be cool to have some Star Wars toys. And you go to the store, and your parents are like, oh, those are too expensive. And then you turn it back around and go to like, to like flea markets and stuff. It's pretty crazy. Oh, hey, bud. Been ages since I've seen you. The Decepticons in the house, by the way, guys. It's been ages since I've seen this guy. And he's like, "What's this sorcery?" Yeah, this is sorcery. This thing I'm actually doing my video on is called a cell phone, and it does live streaming. I didn't know I had this crazy technology. I'm doing good, man. I'm really doing good. It's been a hot minute since I've even done anything like this live thing. And if you're hearing noises, I'm doing laundry. I'm at the laundry mat doing things, so I might have to get up here pretty soon. And you guys will have to bear with me, because I know it was a bad joke. Yeah, very, very bad joke. Anyway, you have to bear with me because it's very loud. You can probably hear this. In this economy, laundry, yeah, I have to, like every 3 weeks. Luckily, I have enough clothes that I can get through that much. But between me and my other half, we have to, do what we got to do. It's life, guys. Come on. I mean, I have to go do laundry in a laundromat. I don't have room. I don't have a laundry washer and dryer in my apartment, so yes, I do have the right to bear arms because he's on my right hand. Panda Express does not approve. No, he's pretty upset. No, you get back over here. No, get back over here. Can't even have a sidekick around here to, hang out with. It wants to just, go hide in a hole. Well, I would hide, too, if it was still 2020. It was a horrible year, yes. Horrible year for everybody. Try working retail during 2020 like I did. It was enough to make you want to kick yourself in the head. Oh, yeah. I think he can handle it. Oh, the topic is, I'm just here chilling, doing laundry, and I'm just talking about whatever. So if you guys have questions to ask me about customs or anything like that, I pretty much was reminiscing about toys and video games a few minutes ago, probably talking people's ears off about that. So, oh yeah, the horrors of retail during 2020. Let's see, I worked at Walmart at the time, and yes, it was enough to make you want to just go throw up in a trash can every day. Because it takes a lot to get me rattled. You know, like when it comes to a whole lot of like, I don't know, like anxiety and such. And I didn't realize I actually suffered from PTSD until then. Like I really did. My other half told me, hey, go and like, you need to go to a doctor about this. And it's a real thing, guys. Like I don't know if you guys realize that, but it is. It sucks. It really does. And yes, it's PTSD from the military. Like, come on, you got people walking around like this. I was overseas where people were shooting people up when they're like this. How do you think I felt? Yeah, I know, it's that bad. But you know, if you had a mask like you got on, it'd be kind of funny. I mean, you're a panda, so you wear a mask all the time. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm trying to read what you guys are writing here. Give me a second. Yeah, yeah. Okay, get this. When I went to go get my lawn, my I don't know what the hell is even in that washer. I hope the hell it's not going to blow up on me. It sounds like it might explode. He went and hid. Anyway, yeah, when I went to go get my hair cut during the whole freaking like outbreak and all this BS. Hey, how's it going, man? I'm not trying to ignore you. It sucked. It really did. I know it sounds like it might explode or something. Hey, it's Maytag, and guess what? It's part of my apartment complex. If it blows up, it's not my fault. You know what? I bet you that might actually just be like coins rattling around in there. I don't know. It's kind of scary and creepy. It's like a gremlin. I know you guys seen the movie Gremlins, I hope. But yeah, during 2020, I went to go get my hair cut. And it was so weird. Like, because I'd have to hold the mask over my face as they're cutting around my ears, because obviously you can't keep a stupid strap around. And it's just like, oh, good grief, it was insane, like having to deal with that. B Decepticon says he's seen the first one. He doesn't want to deal with gremlins. Neither do I. And it sounds like it's piping down, so maybe it's getting ready to like slow down and stop, so I can go throw it in the dryer. Because you know, and it's going to take like an hour to do like that. Yeah, an hour, a whole hour. He's ready to go home and play video games. But what happened, man? What happened to your? Are you still doing stuff on your channel? Because I really don't see you posting anymore. I'm talking to B Decepticon, guys. So if you're reading the chat thing, because I got this up and I got like little things that pop up every now and then, so I have to like do this scrolly thing here to kind of see things. So I'm kind of like touching the screen or whatever. So it's strange. I'm learning technology. What's that? But yeah, 2020, what a year. Now it's 2023 and people are still losing their minds. Like, get this, you got people who are complaining about the economy, right? And they're complaining about the toy quality of things, right? Why don't we all just be happy that they're still making Transformers? They're still making Lego sets. They're still making video games and stuff like that. That stuff could have died off, like, so quickly. Take a few months to reboot things. Oh yeah, I think he should come back this year, man. It's, you know, honestly, the thing is, there's a lot of people who's been doing VTubing too. So I mean, I don't know. I got a friend of mine that's wanting to get into VTubing, and I think I brought this up way at the very beginning of the stream. But I'm just like, I'm not technologically savvy enough to figure out how the heck to do VTubing. Like, I don't. Like, to make like an avatar cartoony thing, like follow you around or whatever. I guess that's following your face with like a camera or something, but I don't know how all that works. And I don't know how powerful your computer has to be. I mean, come on, I'm still using a PC that's probably from like 2010, 20, or 2009. I literally just upgraded the freaking video card, so. Yeah, the O-rings and the GI Joe figures. Yeah, I agree with you. I honestly think that was actually. I don't understand why they went away from making a toy you could easily take apart and fix to something that they just glue together now, and you have to have a freaking razor blade or something like that to shove in there and hope to God you don't crack the plastic apart trying to fix it. Those are kind of my beefs with a lot of that stuff. Yeah, money grab. You're right. It literally, that's all it is anymore, is a money grab. So a lot of these people that complain, like customizers, because myself, I think the last thing I customized was it Earthrise? Might have been Earthrise. But it was the Ultra Magnus that came out that looked kind of like the RID Magnus with the whole crazy front end and the whole trailer like separated, and it came like his power up suit up armor, and he had that whole like chunk of the truck that slid up and down his back. That was the last one I did, and it was a pain in the butt. Yeah, it might have been Siege. It could have been Siege. I think you're right. But I did a custom of that and turned it into Thunderclash for a friend of mine because he wanted me to do that. Yes, I know. Okay. I also still have. He wants me to customize his Starscream that came out. It's the same Starscream mode that came out with the Coronation set. That's the newer one. I don't remember which one it is. It might have been Earthrise. Could have been Siege. I can't remember. They all blend together. It could be Legacy for all I remember. Anyway, all I know is the modern Transformers are pretty neat. Yeah, I think it was a studio. It might have been a Studio Series 84 one. But anyway, he wants me to take that one and customize it into the G2 version. So I haven't gotten around to do it yet. I know I need to. And if my buddy is watching, I will get to it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've just been like so busy lately, and life, man, life just gets in the way. I hate it. I hate how life just gets in the way sometimes. You know, it's been some time since a lot of that craziness has gone on. But anyway, I am going to take a quick break here because I have to go put my laundry in the dryer. So if you guys hang out just for like, give me about 10 minutes or so, I will be right back. I'm not going anywhere for very long. I'm not actually going to kill the stream. I'll just leave it going. So if you guys want to talk amongst yourselves, you can. I'll come back and try to scroll through the chat, and I'll be right back. And I'm back. Um, Laundry's going. Nothing exploded. I'm happy. Although it sounded like it was going to blow up earlier. I don't know what the heck was going on with that. But yes, I do. I do live. So what do you guys think about a lot of this new Diaclone stuff that's come out, kind of more or less recent? Like the fact that they're taking great robot base and basically charging you close to $500 for half of a robot, and now you're going to end up paying another close to $500 for the other half. How do you guys feel about that? Like that's kind of highway robbery, I think. Although I don't really know what the quality is of those, because I've looked into Diaclone before, and I'm not really that sure if it's anything I really want to get like into. I don't know. It's just they're so expensive, and to me, it's almost like an investment, considering I've gone through major collection changes throughout the years. So, to be honest, I haven't touched anything Diaclone. Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of the legacy like Diaclone stuff they've been doing, like the whole different colored like skids and such. It's pretty neat. Even that Magnus they came out with is supposed to be shattered glass. Come on, it's Diaclone Magnus. That's what it is. I just think there's sometimes that there's certain color schemes out there that are kind of missing the mark on. Like, how hard would it be for them to take have we gotten like a new Mirage yet? Like one that doesn't have that big chunk of a freaking spoiler thing on its back? Like, why can't they like streamline that a little bit more and make it better, and then turn around and do like, yeah, I'm gonna say it, the Generation 2 color one where it came out in the neon green with a crazy like Pepto-Bismol pink, kind of like rubber ducky. You guys are probably like, what the heck have I got this for? This is stuff I have in my bag. I have no idea. I think I acquired this stuff for years and forgot it was even in there. He's dirty too. Those rubber duckies. Yes, Megatron would approve. But yeah, I don't know. I would like to see a lot more of the newer stuff come out with, I don't know, more variety. Nope, I don't give a duck. See, this is my duck. I don't give it. You can't have it. It's my duck. Scraplet said so. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's when it comes to a lot of the newer toys that's come out. Like I really, it's hard for me to really pull the trigger on them. Like the newest things I bought, I actually have 3 core class figures, and 2 of them were gifts. Yeah, 2 were gifts, and 1 of them I actually purchased. I did get the Iguanas because I'm into the Pretenders, always have been. I remember the Diaclone and G2 stuff. Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of talk about more G2 and Diaclone stuff. I think they really need to do more of that. But yeah, I got an Iguanas. I actually think it's a pretty decent toy. It's not too bad. I did end up getting the Optimus Prime. That was my other gift. He's pretty neat. I actually kind of like the small truck because the small truck is slightly larger than a Hot Wheel truck, which is kind of nice. So it kind of fits in with my size that I'm going for. And then I hunted everywhere. I went to Walmart. I went to Target. I went everywhere. And you guys probably saw me do that toy hunt some time back and try to get a hold of a G2 Megatron, the core class one, the little green one. Couldn't find it. So eventually I caved. I was like, you know what? TF Source had them, so I bought one. And after I bought the one off of TF Source, not even a week and a half later, I go into this place called Vintage stock. It's a place that sells mainly like movies and music, and they try to dabble into selling retro toys and stuff like that. And they had some newer Transformers there. Lo and behold, there was like 5 of them on a peg. I just wanted to set the place on fire because I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like I went through all this headache to try to get hold of this one stupid toy, and then all of a sudden, oh bam, they got a whole freaking case of it. And I'm like, the distribution sucks. It's been sucking. It consistently sucks. I am not happy with it because it seems like a lot of people are like, oh, well, I had to go here to get this, or I had to have somebody else import it from somewhere else. So I'm just like, you remember the days when actually going toy hunting was fun? It's not fun anymore for me. It's more of a headache. So I'm just like, get on eBay, look up my vintage toy, buy it now, send it to my house. I don't even deal with bids anymore because I just don't like to deal with that kind of stuff. I'm just a very simple person. Give me my stuff because I want it. I've got the money. Leave me alone. Like, it used to be fun. Yeah, like there's times I've seen a lot of like like you're saying. I mean, it can be sometimes fun, but the luster of going to the store and finding that cool new toy that's supposed to come out is like neat, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes I just feel like I'm getting, I don't know, am I paying more money for it? Am I, you know, I don't know, like it's like, how many times do I drive around looking for this one particular toy and then I can't find it? And then I'm just like, what's the point? I give up. And I'm just like, after 4 or 5 weeks of looking around, I just give up. And then all of a sudden, oh, bam, there it shows up like almost a year later. I mean, it sucks. It just sucks. Yeah, I agree with you on that. With the scalpers, and you've got that's the one thing that really ticks me off is these guys that scalp stuff. They literally walk in, oh, I'm gonna buy everything off the shelf because it's popular, and I'm gonna go put it on eBay or Facebook Market or whatever the heck they're using nowadays, and then turn it back around later on and it's like, dude, did you really like make any money off of that? 99% of the time, I've seen people do this before. They'll go do that, no one buys them, and then the dude later on trying to unload a ton of them, and I'm just like, at this day and age, like, honestly, if you guys really think about this, I know, we got the whole new Transformers movie coming out, The Rise of the Beast, because I'm excited to see it. I really am. Yep, $20, 200 weeks later on some scammer. Yep, exactly. But yeah, like, what do you guys think is going to happen to, like, the Transformers universe here? Like, give it like another, say, give it 5 years. What do you think is actually going to happen with everything? Because eventually nostalgia is going to wear out. Because I think we're already hitting that fatigue. I really think we are kind of hitting that fatigue because they're not hitting all the marks because they're like, oh, BotCon did it. Now we're going to turn around and do this, which is literally the same toy except for just a repaint of some exclusive that came out years ago that's actually worth 3 times more, Yeah, I can see a lot of, with the Beast thing, I honestly think things are going to change over to like the Beast thing because I'm almost seeing how nostalgia is following the age group at this point. Because guys my age, we were in the G1 and G2, and not many of us were really that much in the Beast Wars. Some of us were, but I know that's blasphemy. I'm sorry if I insulted anybody, but I mean, I wasn't into the toys. I didn't mind the cartoon, but the toys were just, they were too too weird. They didn't stand up right half the time, and most of the time they were just so kibble junk all over their back. I was just like, and I'm supposed to fit that on the shelf with like all these other figures. I'm knocking everything over. Oh, you grew up with Beast Wars and Beast Machines, yes. Yeah, I can understand that. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with those toys. I actually, now that I'm, you know, years later, I've actually gotten some of them in hand and looked at them and messed with them and stuff like that. They're not terrible toys. They're actually very good quality, but the problem with trying to find any like vintage Beast Wars is most of the time things are ball joint, so you'd end up losing a part. So, oh yeah, GPS. GPS is something that like everybody says gold plastic syndrome. It also affects brown plastic. It also affects blue plastic. There's a lot of different plastics that out there that have like a sparkle in them. It's basically because they try to fuse like a type of metal into the plastic, and it just didn't work like molecularly. It just breaks down. I'm just curious on what's going to happen with a lot of the toys they have coming out now that actually use with the G2 Superion. I mean, I had that toy, solid, very very solid, but I don't know what's going to happen to that toy throughout the years. I don't know if it'll actually have any kind of degradation or not, because from what I was told, they had completely used a different type of some different different formula they used or something for the plastics for that. So I think you guys remember this. Remember when Beast Hunters came out and you had all those all the dragons and stuff that had the rubbery bits. Those are the parts I'm worried about, because how often do you get like a cell phone case? Take a cell phone case, for instance. It can be only maybe 4 years old and it's already getting slimy and sticky and nasty. I can see that happening with like a lot of those newer tools too, because that's the type of plastics they use. Like, it's just not good plastics. Yeah, it probably is buffering. So I'm sorry about that. You might have to like bounce out and bounce back in, because my stream is dumb. And I don't know, it's still saying I'm on. Is it working now? Technology. But yeah, I've noticed like throughout the years, with a lot of the plastic degradation and such, it seems like anything that's like a type of rubber, like even like cords. Yeah, I know it's weird. I got all this. This is my travel bag, guys. I got a bunch of like random electronics and junk. But yeah, like throughout the years, I've even noticed with like even certain types of cords. Like if you look at, where's it at? I actually have a, check it out, a cord, right? Look at this thing. Literally just break, like, the rubber coating's literally like just cracked and fallen off. And I'm like, think about that. This thing probably was only made within probably the past 6 years. And you gotta think your toys are made of this kind of material too sometimes. And it makes me wonder if it's actually going to last throughout the years, because even though still to this day, there are toys out there that we grew up with in the, you know, the 80s and 90s and even during the 70s. The plastics are still holding together better than half the stuff they have now. Like, I go to this little vintage store, and I know you guys have seen me put videos up about it, the little Back in Time comics. It's literally like 5 minutes from my house. It's like literally that close. I kind of like the idea of living 5 minutes away from everything. But every time I go in there and I go look at some of the toys, it's like some of these older toys, they are holding together. Like the old Ninja Turtle toys, when you pick them up, they don't feel all greasy and nasty or anything. And it's like, that's something I noticed throughout the years. Like I've got a, I'm trying to remember what the heck it was. It's some, oh yeah, it's a thumb drive. A thumb drive I got back when I was in college. And it's got like a rubber coating on it, and that rubber coating is turned into like goo, like it's sticky and nasty. And I'm like, this stupid thumb drive I have that still has information on it, by the way, it still works just fine. The coating on the outside is literally just turned into just jello. And I'm like, kind of makes you wonder how much money they're really putting into some of the toy development nowadays. Like, I know that most toys nowadays are actually bought by adults more than kids because a lot of us are just collectors. We collect toys. But think about this, what's going to happen in these collections whenever your kids get older? Like, whenever you're 70, 80 years old, there's nothing you're going to do. You're going to pass away. Oh, I passed it on to little Jimmy. Little Jimmy is going to take care of it. Little Jimmy probably doesn't know what the heck half of it is or even care. It's just like, it's hard to think about when it comes to this stuff. Exactly. You buy the figures for you. Like, I've got a little Lego. I forget which superhero this one is. This is the one that's kind of like Captain America, except she's all British. But this is actually given to me. But I mean, I love Lego, right? But the thing is like, what's going to happen to this kind of stuff whenever you're older? Like, Lego, I can see sticking around. This, most people are like, what the heck is that? They're like, oh, that's cute. Does that? Was this a McDonald's toy? When this was actually a retail toy. Like, this is a toy you buy, like, you know, on the shelf at freaking Walmart. I mean, that's where these came from. And it straight looks like a McDonald's toy from like the 90s, you know? And it's like, it's kind of crazy not knowing, like, you know, how many of these toys are just going to end up in a landfill or just, I don't know, sent to get melted down to something else. Yeah, a scraplet being melted down. Think about that. Kind of crazy. But yeah, you just think about some of these toys. It's kind of crazy that, yeah, Johnny's first Transformer. I remember it's. I don't know. Did you guys? I don't know if any of you guys watch TJ Omega. I do. He's been doing a lot of videos, by the way, like all the time. But he did like this recent one talking about like baby's first Transformer type of thing, and he went to the way back machine, like back in the 80s, where you had like literally the three. You had a car, you had an airplane, you had a dump truck, and the one dump truck's name is Dumper. Like, do you think that name would fly nowadays for anybody? No, it wouldn't. I don't like. But this is the toys that a lot of us grow up with, you know, and some of these toys become hand-me-downs, and some of these toys, like a lot of those from the 80s, held together, like they don't fall apart. It's like the thing is made to be freaking like tossed against a wall and not explode. And now you look at a lot of these toys nowadays, like this, I kind of hate to say it. If I was to toss this against the wall as hard as I could, I bet you it would probably lose an eye, it'd probably crack a tooth, it'd probably hurt it. And this thing was made like in, you know, more recent times. So it's just like the toy qualities kind of just went. That's why I'm like, customizers out there. I mean, I have it. Like, I'm okay with people customizing, like, you know, some toys. But then you got these people like, oh well, I took apart a third-party toy. You know, it's $300 freaking combiner or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so you took it apart and put it back together and, you know, customize it. Great. All they did really is do a paint job. Okay, cool. But you paid $300 for this thing just to turn around and blackwash it, and then you're going to turn around and try to either A, you're going to sell it, or B, you're going to have to give it away because most people like aren't into it, you know. And I'm like, and then I get on eBay and I look at these numbers that people want for some of these things. Well, like almost like, you know, $700 for this premium painted toy, and I'm like, get out of your mind. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, as a piece of art, I get it. I understand that because believe me, I create my own art as well. But it's like, there's times it's like, why do you dump so much time and money into painting this thing, hoping to God you're going to flip it? That's the thing that kills me. And then you got people that buy all these third-party toys, and then later on, Hasbro does one, and it's like, oh, I like the Hasbro one better. So they try to offload their third-party toy. And I'm sitting there thinking, give it 20 years. 20 years down the line, is anybody going to know who Fans Project is? Is anybody going to know who TFC Toys is without actually looking it up on the internet? No. But they're going to know who Hasbro is. They're going to know who Mattel is. They're going to know who Takara is or Tomy. Any of these, they're big, huge names, you know? And I'm like, the third party market is really, to me, needs to go back to the roots that it used to do, where all they did was upgrade kits. And they did that for a little while. But now they're trying to dabble back into I'm going to make this version because this version's better than whatever Hasbro's releasing. And I'm like, that's great and all, but honestly, they're not understanding Hasbro. They don't understand the actual real toy creation side. Like, I understand nowadays it costs more to shoot injection mold plastic just because everything's costing more. Mainly because the economy's greedy. I get it. Nothing any of us can be able to do about it, you know. It sucks. It sucks for everybody. But I'm also like, do you guys realize Hasbro keeps tabs on all these third-party toys, so they try to create something similar to it? I know that they're like, oh, you know what? We could go after them for an IP, but the problem is they're going to close up shop and be gone before they can even show up with an arrest warrant. That's just how it works. Like, most of the time, trying to reinvent 1990s jokes, yes. Like, I absolutely love the 90s G.I. Joe line. There's a lot of people out there that don't. And one thing, I'm very happy about this. I know some people have been complaining about this, but I'm like, the crossovers. I love all these crossovers they've been doing, especially with the G.I. Joe line. Because some people, they're like, I don't get it. It doesn't look like Bumblebee. And guys, they took Bumblebee as a character and they looked at a G.I. Joe vehicle. Most people that are purchasing these things are actually Joe collectors. A lot of these Joe collectors have always wanted Transformers to be able to be in scale with their figures and fit into, I know, like, oh, I want the Awe Striker to fit inside my Killer Whale, which is this big friggin' hovercraft if you guys don't follow G.I. Joe. And the Awe Striker is that little dune buggy version of Bumblebee, right? That will actually fit in the Killer Whale if you actually know how to, fit everything correctly. But the thing is a lot of people are like, I don't get it. Then it's not for you. Like, there's people out there that didn't read the comic books. There's comic book crossover with Transformers and G.I. Joe's been there for a long time. Not just with IDW and all that. I'm talking Marvel. I'm talking pre-everything, And the thing is some people's really been wanting those toys. I personally think I've seen some really, really awesome customs of some of these G.I. Joe vehicles turned into try to look like a Transformer that doesn't actually transform, but actually has like the coloration. Like, I saw somebody take a Mobat and literally paint it to look like Blitzwing in tank mode, and I was like, it was so spot on. It looked great. But I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if they're going to do this, they're going to have to do this right. And most people are like, well, if I want a G.I. Joe vehicle, okay, Megatron turning into his tank, first off, is genius. I thought it was genius. Because first off, it kind of harks to the whole fact that Cobra and Megatron have always, or Cobra and Decepticons actually, have always had a bit of a jointed effort there. Second, the fact that you got this like awesome Hiss tank that turns into Megatron and literally shakes hands with that whole concept even in Generation 2 of the, Megatron being turned into a tank because of Cobra. It all works. And my thing is with the new ones that they've kind of announced, like, I don't know if you guys heard about the Sergeant Slaughter thing. Sergeant Slaughter's tank. We're not sure what Autobot it's going to be. It's going to be an Autobot, we know that, but we don't know what one. But the thing is that all the vehicles straight look like the actual G.I. Joe vehicles. The reason they're doing that is because they want to have a Cobra army of his tanks, and you not know which one is actually Megatron. You can send in wave after wave after wave of like his tanks getting blown up left and right, and then Megatron shows up and everything's ricocheting off it, and they're like, this guy got a force shield, and all of a sudden he transforms and just blows holes in freaking Joe's like base or whatever, and they're like, where in the heck did this thing come from? It's only fair for them to have, you know, an Ostriker chilling over there doing the freaking patrols with like a couple of others, and then you got Bumblebee, you know, as an Ostriker chilling with them to run around and patrol and then, you know, engage Megatron. But yeah, I know Megatron probably couldn't get his butt kicked by B at all. But the thing is, it's like, what vehicle do you pick to be Optimus Prime when it comes to the Joe line? Like, I don't know. I've been like, I hope they're not going to take the Sergeant Slaughter vehicle and try to create, like, you know, Optimus Prime out of Sergeant Slaughter's little tiny tank. That just isn't going to work to me because it's going to look funny because it's going to be this little dinky thing. That, or it's going to be a long, gangly thing that just stands up tall because you got to have that height. But it's not going to have any heft. And it's just like, I get it. Like, there's a lot of people out there that don't like that line. But the people that don't like that line don't get that line. They don't understand it. They're like, oh, it's Transformers. Oh, it's G.I. Joe. You got to be kind of one of those guys that likes both ends. Like, I personally, the guy's talking about doing the customs for the 90s Joes. I would love to see the toxic tank turn it into Megatron. But when he turns into Megatron, it's got like the green bits that come out. So it almost like does that whole crossover between the 90s insanity that was Cobra, and then you've got the G2 like aesthetic of Megatron slapped together. You tell me that wouldn't be amazing to see that toxic shooting tank with that crazy yellow canopy turn into a Megatron with all these like green bits just pop out of nowhere. You know, it'd be kind of neat. I would like to see that. That's something I personally would buy because it's so far out there, weird and strange, and not too big to put on a shelf. You know, I'm into stuff like that. I know some people are like, well, why would you be into this? Why not just straight G2? You know, okay, if you're gonna go G2, like G2 tank from the Joe line, I'm sitting there trying to think what actual Cobra vehicle even looks remotely like the Abrams tank. None of them. The only one that even comes close to it is the Mauler, which the Mauler was a motorized tank back then, and the turret didn't even move on it. It was stagnant. It was literally stuck in one position because it had all these gearing mechanics and stuff inside of it. So it didn't have a rotating turret. And then you had the Mobat, which had a little switch on the inside that you could push to make it move forward or backward, and then you turn the switch left and right to make it turn left and right. It was motorized. But the Baller was actually a remote controlled tank. And it's like, okay, which one do we pick to make Megatron? Those are both really, really, really expensive toys to try to re-engineer, considering, I don't know if you guys have ever had one of those in hand, but they're enormous. They're actually pretty big. Like, the Mauler, I would say, maybe like this long. That's not including the turret, the cannon. And then the Mobat is maybe like this. A HISS tank is like this. And a HISS tank, to me, fits better on somebody's shelf than this or this. And that's the problem with a lot of Joe collectors out there. They run out of space quick. I don't know if you guys have seen people's Joe's collection, but there's a reason why the USS flag becomes the centerpiece of their collection. It's, hey, how's it going, Anthony? It's the whole like USS flag. Yeah, you know what? That'd be the most awesome broadside ever, right? But how do you take this plank that's basically got scaffolding underneath of it and like this piece of plastic that wraps around it, creates like this fake hull, and turn that into a freaking like robot? Like, how do you do that? You can't. It's first off, you're looking at a 7-foot long toy. Imagine how much money it would cost to actually manufacture that toy nowadays. Think about the price that would cost. Hasbro's like, no, we're not even going to try to tackle this because, yeah, some people might want that, but when it comes to Joe Collectors, their centerpiece being the USS Flag, 99% of the time it's just a tabletop. That's where they just put their Tomahawk, their Sky Strikers, a couple Conquests, maybe a couple of their little, I forget what the heck they're called. They're the tiny little hovery, I don't know, they look like a helicopter, but they're not helicopters. They got little jets. I can't remember what they're called. Somebody probably remembers what that's called. But, because I remember Joe to a certain point, but at a certain point I have a brain block. But it's just like, who's got the room for that? Like, and then I'm also talking to the same audience that's got, okay, you've got Generations Metroplex, you've got that newer Fort Max that came out, you got that newer Triptychon that came out, then you got the ARC, now you're gonna have the Nemesis here pretty soon. Where are you gonna put a 7-foot long aircraft carrier? It's literally gonna sit on a shelf and you're gonna stand all these guys on top of the aircraft carrier because you have no other place to put it. So Joe Collectors really, really have to have a lot of space. And I think that's why they've kind of been thinking about just tackling like the small vehicles, like the Dreadnought's main vehicle, it's called the Thunder something. I forget what it is. It's like this. It's basically a Mad Max looking car where they pretty much took like the front end off of I want to say it was like a 1978 Firebird and shoved it on the front of it. And like, I don't know, it's the funkiest thing ever. Love that vehicle to death because it's so stupid looking. I love it. But it's like, that's going to be an interesting vehicle as Soundwave. But my question is, okay, I know you guys are going to put a Ravage in there. So I know you guys have the Ravage mold already from like all these little exclusives they've done with having that with Baroness. But my whole thing is like, you're going to have 3 Dreadnoughts with it. So what's going to come with a Sergeant Slaughter vehicle? Yeah, the 79 Trans Am, you're right. Yeah, that's going to be a nuts with toy. I think it's going to be a really cool toy. And the thing is, if you notice though, they're all smaller vehicles. I don't know if they're ever going to get to the point of taking a Sky Striker and trying to turn that into like Starscream. Now, yeah, they can probably do Jetfire, but to be honest, I think they would lean more towards Starscream versus Jetfire, considering Starscream's the more popular character, because that's what they're also going to be basing the stuff off of too, is popularity. And I'm not really sure when it comes to what they're going to do next after the Sergeant Slaughter vehicle. Like, I'm hoping this is going to cause them to want to do more of these G.I. Joe Transformer crossovers. But I think they were on the right track when they did like the Top Gun one, they did the DeLorean, they did the Ecto one, you know. I would like to see an A-Team band. I would also like to see Airwolf, you know. Those are some crossovers I want to see. A General Lee, guys. A General Lee. I'll see you later, Lee. I'll talk to you later, man. But, I would like to see a General Lee turned into that. That would be an interesting one out there. I think a lot of people would like to see. And the thing is, like, look, all they have to do is make a Dodge Charger. Don't apply the stickers. Don't apply any of it. Send it as a sticker sheet. You can get away with selling it like that. Just call it the Dukes of Hazzard. Don't even put the Confederate flag on it, because I know some people complain about that. I get it. That's not to step on anybody's toes. But I think that's how they can handle that. Just put it as a sticker sheet thrown in there, and you can still sell it. You know, because people out there still buy the General Lee. I know they do. I go to this vintage shop over here all the time. They're always getting in General Lee stuff, and it doesn't last long. It goes away really quick. So there's still a big demand for it out there. So yeah, I could see Dukes of Hazzard. Be really funny to see Smokey and the Bandit. I can see that. But maybe realistically, probably the next crossover I could probably see them doing, maybe Kit from Knight Rider. Like if they're going to be doing something else other than the G.I. Joe crossover stuff. Because I know they have some other crossovers listed. I think like 2 other ones. But I'm not really sure if they're all going to be Joe related. I think if they stick with just the Joe thing, they may lose some of their audience that wants all the weird crossover stuff. Like a really strange thing. Hey, how's it going, Jet? Um, I had looked into like a whole bunch of like really strange comic books that crossovers dealing with Transformers. Right. The weirdest one I came across is X-Files and Transformers, and that would be like the weirdest crossover ever. Like, I don't know about you guys, but could you see them maybe taking that Cosmos mold and I don't know, put a couple little tiny little figures that's supposed to be Mulder and Scully, and maybe like some little, I don't know, tiny, let's say Minicon type of, or Micromaster type of like car that looks like their little, I don't know, FBI car, and have it like packed in with like a Cosmos that's painted like silver, so it looks like a freaking like spaceship from, you know, X-Files or something like that. I mean, that's money, man. I can honestly see that happening because if you want to go crossovers, let's go crossovers, like some weird stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys ever read it, but there's actually a crossover with Mars Attacks and Transformers, and it's such a great comic. It is so funny, and I think that would be like the they can almost do like a hint toward the X-Files thing, and then maybe a hint toward the Mars Attacks thing with that. Like, I don't know, like some kind of silliness there. Um, it can almost go two different ways, or they can actually have two different versions of that Cosmos. Like, you can have the one that comes out that looks like the spaceships from X-Files, and then one that looks like a spaceship from Mars Attacks, but it's got different little figures with it or whatever, you know, that look like the little guys, you know, because who doesn't love those guys? They're hilarious. And if you haven't seen the movie, go watch the Mars Attacks movie. It's so great. It's a timeless classic. It's all slapstick comedy. It's not meant to be serious. It's just fun. So it's one of those things I think you guys should check out if you haven't checked that out. But yeah, there's tons of different kind of crossovers out there. I think they could easily do, like, even with like McDonald's. Like, I know they did the McDonald's like little Happy Meal toys there for like a long time, like the ones that like turned into hamburgers and stuff. I think it'd be hilarious if they got like a contract with McDonald's and maybe have like a certificate or something like that that goes in there, you know, that lets people come to McDonald's and get like a free Happy Meal or like, I don't know, 20% off a Happy Meal or whatever it is, right? But like the package be an actual Happy Meal, and when you open it up, maybe it's got like a whole set of like modernized versions of like transforming hamburgers and French fries and stuff like that. Like a, I don't know, like an exclusive kind of thing or something like that that you could get. I think that'd just be hilarious because there's so many things they can do with this now. Like, especially with the bot bots. Like, think about how many bot bots they have and how many of those they can actually translate those into Happy Meal figures that they could put in a little bitty freaking bucket thing to make it look like, you know, and make the case like, I don't know, you could make it out of hard plastic if you wanted to and have it just pop open or something like that, almost like a Polly Pocket thing, or what was it, Mighty Max back in the day? And then you have like these little, like, bot like transformer things you could put in there that would actually, you know, be part of the packaging. That would be cool. I don't know, let's just be daydreaming there, but that's some nutsoid thing that I would buy because it's so stupid. I like it. Like, I'm really into that. Like, one thing I really thought about, like, you remember back in the day, think about it. Yeah, bots would absolutely work for that. Yes, yeah, I know. But you remember way back in the day when you're like looking up like really weird like knockoff Transformers, right? And then you had that one that was a G1 Grimlock that had bits and pieces of like Godzilla looked like on him. Could you imagine them doing a Godzilla crossover? Because they have Optimus Primal already, which could be freaking King Kong, and do some kind of crazy crossover where it's like Godzilla that's Grimlock and then King Kong that's Optimus Prime or something. They got, I don't know, just some silly thing, or maybe not even making him Grimlock, make him Triptychon or something, so that way you actually have the versus kind of thing going on. I think that would be hilarious, because I mean, you could do it with Megatron and stuff like that, but I think it'd be even funnier if you try to do like a Triptychon out of that, make like a transforming version of like Megatron, or not Megatron, but Godzilla, because I think it'd be really neat to have a transforming Godzilla. Because I think Godzilla doesn't get enough love sometimes, but I don't know if Toho would ever give him the rights to do that, because it'd just be kind of just something really, really like far out. Considering Toho, I think ever since the movie from 1997, the Godzilla movie that came out, I think ever since then they've been really, really hard pressed to allow that to happen. And kind of proof of that is the Mario movie that's coming out now, right? How many years has it been since the original Mario movie came out? 92? 93? Something like that. And that movie had absolutely nothing to do with Super Mario Brothers. And that's why it took so many years for Nintendo to say, well, I guess we can allow somebody else to try to make a movie for us. It's took them this long. And like, I mean, with all these crazy crossovers, like the one of the coolest crossovers I ever saw was what was that BotCon exclusive thing where they took, I think it was Huffer and Pipes from Animated and turned them into Mario and Luigi. That was like the funniest thing ever. It was like a third party that did that. And I'm like, come on, Hasbro, you guys can talk to Nintendo, and I'm sure Nintendo will allow you to do something like this. Like, it'd be funny to see that. I just don't know what like molds we would use for that, because I don't know, like video game crossover stuff would be kind of cool to see. I really want to see some of that, because we really haven't gotten any like video game crossover things, except for like that Optimus Prime that turned into a PlayStation, and then the Megatron that turned into the Sega Genesis, which I thought those were cool, but I was like, they could have really went with that. Like, they could have done more with that. You could have like took Soundwave and turned him into like, I don't know, a Dreamcast. Like, you want to do some deep cuts there. You take Soundwave and have him turn into a Dreamcast. That'd be great. It's not many people actually got a chance to even play the Dreamcast. Rest in peace, that poor thing. It actually had some pretty good games too. That's what's sad about that system. But yeah, I mean, I would like to see some of this stuff. Like, if you're gonna do crossovers is where it's at, really. I mean, I've been really. I don't know if you watch. If you guys follow this guy named Simon on Facebook or anything, but I can't remember his. I think he goes by Simon or something like that. I can't remember. But he does like all these wild like repaints of Optimus Prime and Soundwave and G1 Megatron. And he did this one where he took G1 Megatron and turned him into the Zapper gun from freaking like the first Nintendo game, or the first NES system. And I was like, that's just genius. Like, why can't Hasbro do something? I mean, I understand with gun laws, all this BS, but if Hasbro wants to do something with Nerf, hello, Zapper gun, Nerf gun, Megatron, hello, it's like the coolest thing ever. Why not? I don't understand this. Like, why has this not happened? But it's just like some of the stuff that comes on in my head, I'm just like, what are these guys thinking when it comes to marketing? Like, are they really, really looking at the people that are trying to buy this stuff now? Or are they just like guessing? Like, why don't they do like a poll and ask people what they would like to see? Like, I know everybody wanted that huge Unicron. Everybody wanted a new Star Saber and Victory Leo, and then the Death Stars that's coming out. But hardly anybody really gives a crap about the Masterpiece Raiden, which I hate to say. I love Raiden, absolutely love the toy, but I am not going to pay over $1,000 for something that looks like that thing does. The engineering, first off, is way too complicated for no reason. They could have kept it simple. What I expected them to do was almost go the Combiner Wars route with some of the connection pieces and make everything simple. So that way everybody can own a Raiden. At this point, Raiden's still in the exclusive club. It's stupid. I'm sorry, but I'm just like, not everybody has experienced the train bots. I used to have the Diaclone version, and I currently still have a knockoff version that I've recolored as G2 Raiden. And I personally think those toys don't get enough love. You can't tell me Hasbro can't sign a thing like, I don't know, some deal with Amtrak or something and say, hey, look, we're going to make freaking Raiden out of, you know, this plaster freaking Amtrak or God knows what the heck. Or get hold of a lot of these, you know, railroad commission companies. These people are rolling in dough. You can't tell me that that wouldn't be good advertising for them. You know, who doesn't want a Union Pacific freaking diesel locomotive? I know a lot of these are Japanese, like, trains, but you could easily redeco some of these for this. Like, there's so many things they could do with this. And I'm like, that's what they decide to do, is do a Masterpiece, which is great. I know Masterpiece, I know the trains are a big thing over there in Japan and also in like Europe and such, but here in the States, I get they're not really that popular, but why were there so many train sets when we grew up as kids? Like electric train sets. A lot of us had those. I mean, I still have my Transformers electric train set that I bought when I was adult. You know, you guys probably saw the video I did a long time ago about it. If you haven't, go check it out because it's amazing. I did a whole lot of hard work on that one. But the train set is very cool. Like, why couldn't they just, I don't know, be generic and just recreate that version that transforms and becomes Raiden? How hard is that? I mean, they have some of the rights to GoBots, so they can use some likeness. Or wait, it's not the. I think it's the. They can use the likeness, but they can't use the names or something. I know it's it's one or the other. I can't remember which one I was told it was, but there is a thing there where it's like they can easily do something with this particular like line of toys. Like, I mean, what do you guys think the next HasLab project's going to be? If it's not going to be the Nemesis, because they're obviously doing that, but they're already doing Death Stars. If they decide to do another, you know, fundraised toy, like, I'm not really sure which one it would be. Like, I really don't. I mean, maybe Lyle Kaiser, but Lyle Kaiser's got a very awkward following. Like, I know a lot of people want one, but some people don't want to pay the money for, you know. Obviously, the original's way out of most people's price. Like, I get it, because Kill Bison's all gold plastic. You have a little tank that forms a leg, and if you flip up the deal in order to plug him in, he's probably going to snap in half. The same thing with his little foot piece that comes out. I can understand that. Then you got the knockoffs are out there, which are really, really difficult to get hold of. And you even have like the high quality knockoff versions of the original. I'm not talking about the one that they replaced the Armored Double Dealer, but you know, I think it'd be really interesting to see a new Raiden, but not Raiden, but Lyle Kaiser. But I don't know if that's actually going to be one that they'll even try to tackle, considering it's 6 robots into one. I mean, if they're not going to do that with Raiden, why would they bother to do Lyle Kaiser? I mean, honestly, right now, currently with what they've got out, with the whole core class, the core class Dinobots they've got coming out that all combine together to make a new mini Mechanicus, which is cool. I actually think that's neat. That's probably just going to get a straight repaint as either Dino King or Monstructor. I honestly could see Dino King before Monstructor, unfortunately. Monstructor does not get any love at all. That toy hasn't seen a redo ever. Neither, and Dino King hadn't either. So I think this may be their chance to dip their toes in that. But the thing is, if you're going to do Monstructor, you have to remold some of it to look like monsters. That's the whole point. They're all supposed to be 6 monsters. I'm actually a fan of Monstructor. And I had a knockoff that was oversized that actually was pretty much in scale with a lot of your G1 combiners. And I also had the original. The original, I was missing a few bits to actually combine him completely together, but I really didn't want to do that because of the gold plastic syndrome that Bristleback and Slog had. So, I mean, it'd be kind of interesting to see them tackle Monstructor before they do Dino King. I can see that happening. It's one of those things I really think a lot of people should get into. Like, I don't know, getting on the forums or whatever it is and telling them, hey, we would like to see this because this is what we want. And that's all we really want. You know, people want certain ones. They don't want all these. Some people are like, I want this to fill the hole on my shelf. I want this to fill the hole on my shelf. Like, I think that's the reason why we won't ever see any like masterpiece versions of GoBots. Unfortunately, there's a lot of the G2 guys that haven't even gotten touched. Like any of the Sky Scorchers, like any of the Cyberjets, none of those. Never once have gotten a redo. Like there was one they used the name Terradive, but it wasn't actually Terradive. It was like, I don't know. Well, I mean, okay, I take that back. There was one, and Space Case got his, but that was from that movieverse inverted wing jet. I remember seeing it, and I didn't ever have that one, but I do remember seeing it. But that's the only one I can even think of that even had like a redo of any G2 jet of that design. Like those guys have pretty much been forgotten. Like all the other guys besides Rapido, out of all the accelerators, they don't get any love. And it's kind of the same thing with the laser rods. Electro's the only one that even really had any type of recent thing, and he didn't get like hardly any love either. And I'm like, I think the problem is with a lot of those guys is there's not enough buzz about them. And the guys like myself, they're like, oh, I remember GoBots. You're talking about the one that actually pressed the button on the back and shoot the water out, like the front of it, the little rally car guy. They could easily do a new one of those nowadays. Like, you can't tell me with all this new engineering they got that they can't reshell things and make things work to create some of the, you know, the aqua speeders and the stormtroopers and all these really strange G2 vehicles that need the love. Like, it's like, come on, I mean, you guys made Laser Prime, Laser Optimus Prime, but yet when you guys decided to repaint it black, you weren't the guy that actually created it, didn't even actually look at what he really looked like. He just kind of went off of memory and kind of screwed it up and basically blent Laser Prime and Nemesis Prime together. Or not really Laser Prime, but Scourge and Nemesis Prime together to make a black convoy. And I'm like, no, that's not how you do it. You release it twice, 2 more times, but you do it the right way both ways. You know, like, look at the coloring here. Look at the coloring here. Here he actually has an inverted freaking Autobot logo that's upside down. Here, he's actually got a Decepticon in it. You know, like, there is differences, and a lot of people are like, well, you know, that was just the design that they used back then, and that's great. But I mean, like the new ones, it's like, come on, there really is no excuse. You can't tell me there's no picture references because there's thousands of them out there. And I think when they repaint things, they're kind of phoning in somebody. They're like, can you do this, that, and the other? Sure, I could do this, that, and the other. And they just go and hit a button and they don't care about what they're actually looking at. They're not actually looking at anything. They're just like, oh, I think this is how it looked. Okay, we'll just go with that. And that's kind of how I feel when it comes to some of the designs for some of this stuff. Like the Scourge, the Black Convoy, as they keep calling, isn't correct at all. None of it's correct. And I'm like, you guys really messed up. You guys have an amazing mold you guys came out with. And then you do this. Now, the one thing I'm very curious of now, when they decided to do that Candy Cane Optimus Prime, the Santa Optimus Prime, which is funny. It's hilarious. But my question is, what are they going to do with this thing next? Because I could see either Hero Prime, aka Sure Shot in Europe, or B, they can go General Prime, the unreleased version that was blue. But they're going to completely have to redo the whole trailer. Like the trailer, might as well ditch the sides of that trailer and the little drone thing that's in the middle and put a big old freaking missile launcher on there, because that's the only way that's going to work in any iteration of that toy. That, or just ditch the trailer altogether and have like some big long thing that plugs into the back that turns into a huge missile launcher that's got wheels. Like, you're gonna have to do that if you're gonna make it work the right way. If they decide to just cop out and just give them a freaking box trailer, I know a lot of people are gonna be raging about that, because it's like, that ain't right. That's not what he even looks like. Like, he's supposed to have a missile launcher thing. Because I mean, to be honest, how hard would it be with this 5mm port BS? I mean, we've been using this for how long? How long have we been using 5mm ports? For ages. It's been ages and ages and ages. So it's not a new thing. So I could see them easily taking that whole drone assembly thing off, ditch the sides of the trailer, ditch that stupid shield thing, whatever the heck that is, for a tailgate off of that thing, and put a big freaking missile launcher gimmick that plugs onto the thing that you can take off and you can actually like strap to his arm. Because you can strap it to his arm, it'll be accurate, people will be happy. And all you gotta do is either A, you need to paint that thing to look like Sure Shot, aka Hero Prime, or you paint it to look like the General Prime that never really got released. It was dark blue and I would say kind of an orangish red, because he did have kind of an orangish red tint to it. It'd be neat to see this toy in either iteration, because I think that's where they need to go with that. Because I know initially when that toy was supposed to come out, it's supposed to be an Amazon Prime exclusive, because you know it's supposed to be an Amazon truck, which I think is funny. They still could probably roll out with that, pun intended. But I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I really see that toy going that direction. But either A, they're going to have to ditch the trailer and completely do a whole new thing, or B, they need to modify the crap out of that trailer for it to work. There's one of the other is going to end up having to happen. And I don't want them to come in and say, oh, look, they're going to put a missile launcher gimmick just on the back of the truck and ditch the trailer altogether. And I'm like, that wouldn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. Like, I don't know. Like, there's not enough room in the back of that truck, because I know it's longer, but I know there's not enough room in the back of that truck to accommodate a huge missile launcher. And if they're going to put a tiny little dinky missile launcher, I'd be like, I can't even do this. Like, this is kind of how I feel about that. It's kind of nuts if you think about it. But yeah, there's so many different things they can do with some of these molds that they've released. I mean, I would like to see a new solid like pickup truck mold come out, so they can redo that mold as like either turbo fire from the accelerators, or turn it into electro, or you can turn it into, let's do a couple of deep cuts here from the GoBots motor mouth, or you can even do ironhide out of a pickup truck, and it makes sense. I'm not talking about the Babers pickup truck. I'm talking about the G2 one where it's the silver truck with all the kind of blue and fuchsia, purple, pinkish color it's got, which is cool. I think it actually works very well. I really would like to see that happen with like a modernized pickup truck. I think we need more pickup truck transformers. I don't know why we don't have more. It's the dumbest thing ever. I'm like, come on, how hard? Well, I mean, you do have that one. Now I just remember that Junkion that just came out. But they would have to do a lot of different kind of molding to that to make that actually work. Although the Junkions are kind of cool. I'm just curious to see where they're going to go with the rest of them, because I know we have one that's a motorcycle, one that's a truck, and I think we have one that's a car that's coming out. But I think it had like bits and pieces of the car or something was like pushed onto the motorcycle to make a sidecar, which is weird. But I'm not judging. I mean, it's Junkions. They're allowed to do what the heck they want, I guess. But I think it'd be interesting to see where they're going to go with this Junkion thing, because I like the Mad Max aesthetic. But what I'd really like to see, if they want to, okay, cross over the century here. Mad Max, Road Warrior, Mack truck with trailer that transforms into Optimus Prime. That's all Junkion looking. You tell me that wouldn't be amazing? Who the heck wouldn't want that? Like, I've seen fan art of that kind of thing existing, and I'm like, why aren't we, the guys working for Hasbro, telling Hasbro this is what people want, not this thing that kind of does what we want but kind of doesn't? Like, my thing is, I think the thing that really missed the mark, I really do. I really think the thing that really missed the mark was when Hasbro made the Ark. I don't mind the fact the Ark transformed. My beef was, why don't you make it a playset more? Because people want a playset to put the Transformers in. They want something, I mean, you got all these core class figures. Why couldn't you have made a huge Ark that opens up that you can put your core class figures in, and maybe has like a whole, like, I don't know, a huge cargo area or something like that you can put like core class figures in that are like, you know, you can have the Decepticons trying to rush into the Ark and trying to take it or something. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, if you guys are really trying to hit those nostalgia buttons, where's the little, I don't know, the hookup tube thing that's going to be coming with the Nemesis? I hope that can plug into the Ark so that way you can recreate that. And if that doesn't happen, everybody's going to be like, why? Like, I'm just going to go get a cardboard tube from my kitchen, cut it, paint it freaking purple, stick it between the Ark and the freaking Nemesis, and there we go, right? Because, I mean, that's what's going to happen. Like that, or somebody's going to 3D print some silly piece and then have it, I don't know, injection molded and sold on a third party, selling it out there with these guys paying $49.95 for a tube that plugs your Ark into your freaking Nemesis because Hasbro failed to do this. Like, how often am I seeing these little add-ons like this? Because it's like, it's simple little things are missing. It's the tiny little details. And I understand they're doing this stuff within a budget. I understand budget when it comes to business. Believe me, I know. And it's like, you got a budget. This budget allows this much money, but if I'm going to do something, I need to make it so that way people actually want to buy it. Not turn right back around, buy the toy, and then turn around and spend another $150 to make it the toy you wanted it to be in the first place. Like, how many times I see, what, 40, 50 bucks for add-on parts for the Ark in order to fill in those huge gaps on the sides because nobody liked the gaps that were on the sides because that's where the legs transform. Why couldn't they make spring-loaded parts that popped out whenever you transformed it? So that way when you put it back together, I mean, I'm not hating on it, it's just, it's silly. I find it very, very silly that that's the direction that Hasbro's gone with a lot of things. And I'm like, y'all can really create something awesome if you really took the time to look into how much time and effort you're putting into something and how many people are actually going to purchase it. Because how often we find in these things, what at Ollie's, I don't even know what an Ollie's is. I haven't seen an Ollie's anywhere where I live. So these things are going on clearance for a reason. People don't want to pay that much money for these things, especially when it has very, very mediocre things. Like, okay, you got Teletran that turns into a computer. A computer turns into a robot. Okay, that's a great nudge toward the Action Master. A lot of people didn't like Action Masters. Unlike me, I love them. But I know a lot of people that hated them. And I'm sitting there thinking, so you guys decide to spend all this money building a toy and then have a transforming computer that turns into a very obscure character as it is, and then you turn back around and expect everybody to spend all this kind of money. I mean, Triptychon sold very well up to the point that people found out about the hip issue, but most people put videos out in order to fix that, so that way the Triptychons didn't really go on clearance. A lot of people bought those because it's a gigantic dinosaur. Who doesn't like giant dinosaurs? But when it comes to the Ark, maybe they shouldn't have turned him into the last Autobot. Maybe the last Autobot should have been like some figure that came with it. And you turned the Ark itself was a freaking playset. Because most people display this thing in its spaceship mode, sitting upright, back behind like their Metroplex or whatever they got, and that's where it's going to live, and that's not hardly ever going to be turned into a robot ever. Like, that's the point I think Hasbro is missing. Like, they should do a poll on this stuff. Like, would you rather see the Nemesis turn into a robot, or would you rather it be a playset? Would you want an Ark that turns into a robot, or would you rather it be a playset? Because I know they did a playset of the Ark a long time ago in the galaxy far, far away during the whole Michael Bay thing, you know. And I'm like, okay, that was a cool little small playset. It was a small playset, and I had it. I actually personally had it. Other than the fact that it was that was Bayformer-ish, it actually was a cool little gimmicky playset. It had a tower thing that popped up. It had lights and sounds. It had firing missiles. It had like a little thing that opened up and had like, I don't know, it was supposed to be like some huge scanner thing or whatever. And it had like an elevator and such. It had some cool little play features in it for like the Cyberverse vehicles and such. They had like the small ones. I actually, because I'm partial to the small stuff. I like that stuff. But what if they took all that engineering they have from that and they put that into the Ark? Like a big version of the Ark. Like, you got panels. You can make some panels pop open. And there you go. You got a huge play set. Nobody's going to say no to that. I don't know anybody who say, oh, it's a playset. I don't want that. If it's a playset and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to play with the playset, but I'll play it as a spaceship sitting in the back, that's worth more than, you know, I mean, think about this. Cost efficiency, it'd be cheaper to make too, by the way, because all you're really doing is making a huge, crazy foreign box that can sit back there and chill, that you don't even have to open up. Or you got one that you have to put all this insane engineering in order to make it turn into a robot. Like, they really could have like saved a crap ton of money without letting that thing go on clearance like it did. Because it did. It went on clearance. There's a lot of people out there that got it off of clearance because they don't want to pay the full price. And the price that they're wanting for some of this stuff now is kind of ridiculous. And I'm like, I remember back when Generations Metroplex came out. I got a pretty good deal off of BBTS at the time. And I bought two of them. I got one for my ex-girlfriend's son at the time, and I got one for myself. And they cost $100 each. $100 for a Metroplex. At the time, I could get a vintage Metroplex for $100. Same amount of money. Now you guys do the math. It's like almost $200 for, what was that, Fort Max. That was basically the same mold, just slightly modified, which modified in a horrible way, because as far as I'm concerned, they shouldn't have even tried to use that mold. They should have just redid it and did a whole new thing, because they did that with Triptychon. Like, I don't see the difference here, really, other than the fact that they took bits and pieces of, I remember they took the original Metroplex, a version of it, disassembled it, tried to reassemble it to make it look like Triptychon, to kind of sell it to the developers and the financial backers and stuff like that at Hasbro, in order to come up with the idea to actually create it. But the thing is like, oh, that's cool. Now what are we going to do for Fort Max? I'm going to glue his legs together and make it sound like that one arm doesn't swing out anymore, and not even actually give him a real city mold. We're just going to fold him out flat. How is that Fortress Maximus? Fortress Maximus has always been this big chunky thing that turns into an upright city. And the only time that I personally ever take my Fort, because I have a Brave Max. But at the time, I had Fort Max and I had Grand Max. I had all three. Only time I ever put them in molds like that is I called that the Fortress mode, where they'd actually like fold out like that, so that way they can have the guns going more upright. And then I was able to actually set up, like, you know, Metroplex on one side, and, you know, some of my Micromaster Cities things and stuff like that, to really kind of create more of a Cybertronian city with a bit of a defensive stance set up. That, to me, is cool. But whenever you make the only mode supposed to be that, I mean, I know they did the spaceship mode. That's great. But the city mode wasn't the city mode anymore. It was something else. And I just personally was not a fan of that. Well, I'm thinking my laundry is finally done. Because I've been in for any of you guys that's tuned in, I'm actually doing my laundry right now, so I figured I would do a stream while I was doing my laundry, because I thought it'd be kind of fun. But anyway, I have got to pack up all my goodies and toys and insanity I got going on here. And the same thing though, you know, I got lots of stuff here I gotta put away before I leave and go back to the house. You've been hiding this whole time, haven't you? Ready to go home and play video games? He's ready to go home and play some video games. But anyway, I'll see you guys around. I got plenty more coming your guys' way consistently. Trying to, just like I said, just bear with me. Unintended. He didn't like that. Anyway. Yeah, this Panda Express. I'm into Japanese toys. What do you expect? He just wants to go. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. You guys have a good night now. All right, that's it. I'll see you around, okay? Take care. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys some other time. Bye-bye for now.